I am confused. Doom the Dark Ages has been out for the past week and a half, and even though I had a really good time ripping and turning hellish abominations left and right, the moment I go to social media and see the community's reaction, all I see is hatred, negativity, and resentment towards its software for making this game.
What?
Even though I like the Dark Ages a lot, it would be unrealistic of me to say it's perfect when it's not. As of today, May 30, the Dark Ages has a ton of issues, some that can be solved with future updates and others that cannot, making them unfortunately part of the game forever.
Fuck.
Yet, these things are not even part of the general conversation I see on social media, as all I witness is people hating the Dark Ages for the dumbest things imaginable, making it seem like they're just being negative for the sake of complaining about anything.
This whole thing, all of this, it's all about me.
At first, I wasn't going to make a video on this, as I just want to focus on what matters, making lore videos and Pink Valley Part 2. Yet, the hate, the negativity has gotten to the point where I just have to make a video now. Having said that, let's do a little experiment. If you think Doom the Dark Ages is good, leave a like, and if you don't, let me know why down below in the comment section. All criticisms will be compiled on a Word document and sent to a group chat I have with some people at Bethesda, because you know, I read and reply to every single one of your comments, believe it.
Are you ready?
With that being said, let's sit down, grab our little Doom guy, and dive straight back into hell. This video was brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MIDNIGHT to get 10% off your order on any of these cool things. Thank you so much for the unrelenting support all these years, and I really hope you enjoy. With all due respect to anyone involved in this madness, but I cannot, in good faith, agree with anything you have been spouting for the last few days about the Dark Ages. It's one thing to give a game a bad reputation for its mechanics, design, story, all of that stuff, and another to focus on things that do not affect the game's overall performance, in an effort to put it in a bad light. One of the most insane criticisms I've seen about the Dark Ages is the fact that it is apparently super woke for two main reasons: the inclusion of difficulty sliders and Commander Thera's character.
Okay.
Calling the game woke because of difficulty sliders is the biggest stretch I've witnessed. The idea behind it being that because you can modify difficulty to your liking, the game now panders to a more casual audience, in turn making it woke. Yet, what these people do not realize is that since the very beginning, Doom has always been accessible for anyone to play. It would be one thing if the Dark Ages didn't have difficulty options at all, making it like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, or Bloodborne, games where each individual player overcomes the same challenges as everyone else, but still added difficulty sliders. Now that would be an issue, as anyone can put the game on baby mode and say they beat it. Yet, that's not the case at all with the Dark Ages, as all these sliders do is add replayability, a feature that is objectively necessary for any video game.
Yes, science!
Now here's where the narrative went from plain stupidity to absolute insanity. Before I go forward, let me say this. I made this video 3 years ago, and I stand by everything I said in it. Having said that, how in the heavens is the inclusion of Commander Thera and how her character was handled woke? The main plot is about a woman fighting against incompetent xenophobic patriarchy. No, the game's narrative is driven by a setting, it being the Dark Ages of Doom, a time period in which the Night Sentinels went to war with Hell. Doom the Dark Ages ends with woman boss giving speech and incompetent king sharing his throne. Yeah, apparently King Novik is an incompetent ruler. It's not like he squared up against Ezrak and escaped with the Heart of Argent, or that he fought against Titanic monsters, or that he defended the Heart of Argent and his people until the very end. The guy was sacrificing himself, using himself as a decoy in the campaign left and right. Sure, What an incompetent character. Nothing in the game states that this is Thera's honored throne, but if you played Doom 2016, you would know that Doomguy wore the crown of the Night Sentinels at some point here, so it may very well be his throne, and even if it wasn't, Thera is technically a princess of a warrior tribe. Her being tough and having a high-ranking position within the Sentinels forces goes well in line with how the world of Doom has been built. Yet, this idiocy, this madness doesn't end with just her character. As I played Doom the Dark Ages, I was confused as to why Thera sounded so weird and older. Turns out she's played by Deborah Wilson because of course she is. If voice actors need to look like their characters in anime and all of that other stuff, why is it always a free pass when this happens? This lady's voice didn't match Thera at all.
Their directive was clear. What would you have us do? Nothing.
I don't know, man, she sounds very convincing to me. Maybe that's why she gets a ton of roles in the industry. For some reason I'm unable to comprehend. It seems a lot of people have an issue with this simple fact. Yet, do you want to know who's also on everything? Kevin Michael Richardson, an absolute legend, who has literally been on everything you can imagine. And I do not see anyone being mad about that. I wonder why. To respond to this second point that all voice actors need to look like the character they play, this is Mayumi Tanaka, the voice actor for Monkey D. Luffy, Masako Nozawa, who plays Goku since the 1980s, Gerardo Reyero, the Mexican voice for Frieza, and now you can see the stupidity of this statement. Yet, the main issue here is that Deborah Wilson, a woman of color, is playing the role of a white woman, something that is apparently illegal, when it clearly is not. This is Christopher Judge, the man who has voiced Kratos since God of War 2018, and this is Terrence Carson, the original voice actor for Kratos since the very first God of War. This is Jason E. Keighley, the voice actor for the Doom Slayer on the Ancient Gods Part 2 and the Dark Ages, proving that if your voice goes in line with the needs of the production, race doesn't matter at all. However, it would be an issue if Commander Thera instead looked like this. Why? Because we have known since Doom Eternal the appearance of King Novik. In fiction, there's a term called suspension of disbelief, which is the audience's ability to emotionally immerse themselves on any story, even if they know it's not reality. And we all, even you and me, do this unconsciously. Any filmmaker, writer, artist has to walk through this tiny thread with delicacy, as anything unnatural that goes against what the story has told can break immersion, ruining the viewer's entire experience.
You sussy baka!
What amazes me the most about all of this madness is the amount of effort these people are putting to try and group Doom the Dark Ages with games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Dragon Age Veilguard, The Last of Us 2, Concord, etc. Look, I'm going to be sincere. I am also jaded by this modern age of gaming. Whenever I see the claws of Sweet Baby Ink on any video game I'm anticipating, I just sigh with disappointment. Because going by history, games that are developed with virtue signaling as their whole personality always fail, not because of the message, but how it's delivered. So I understand that we, the people who play video games, should be aware of all of this and vote with our wallets. Having said that, this is just taking it to an absolute extreme. All I see is people trying their hardest to complain about basically anything, when in reality all of these issues do not affect the overall quality of the game in the slightest, and all this nontroversy does is take attention away from the real problems.
And I'm not trying to be insulting, I'm just trying to make you see things clearly.
Yet, it doesn't stop there. According to these people, Doom the Dark Ages is a flop, a failure, Slop. If you use the word slop in your vocabulary, I am immediately disregarding anything you say. Slop this, slop that, slopeame esta According to these people, Doom the Dark Ages is a complete failure because it only reached a maximum peak of 30,000 players on Steam's day of release, which is completely stupid. Using Steam's concurrent players metric for measuring success is unreliable, as it is entirely contextual. Doom the Dark Ages released on multiple platforms, not only on Steam, and has reached a player count of 3 million. Yes, I understand that using the word players doesn't really tell us the amount of sales, which, as of May 21, is nearing 1 million copies sold. That amount of copies in 1 week is fantastic, so stop acting it's not. What these people do not understand is that Doom is owned by Microsoft, which is focused on incrementing their Game Pass sales. Out of the 3 million players, 2.2 million came from Game Pass alone, and that's just going to keep growing.
Liar!
Yet, it doesn't stop there. Another reason why The Dark Ages is a flop is because the hype, the anticipation, didn't reach the levels of Doom Eternal, thus making it a failure.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Honestly, whoever says that is just being disingenuous, as there's no point of comparison. The hype leading to Doom Eternal's release got to Halo 2, even Halo 3 levels of borderline madness. It was so special, nothing will ever come close to replicate it, and that's completely fine. To anyone comparing Doom Eternal's peak concurrent players to Doom the Dark Ages, in an effort to make this game look bad, a failure, this happened because of the pandemic, and that's a fact. Force everyone in the world inside their houses and put them a game about killing demons? Of course it's gonna be fucking great. Now that everyone is back outside, this amount of players on a new multi-platform game is just natural.
I understand.
Yet, not everything is sunshines and rainbows, as Doom the Dark Ages does have a ton of issues that prevent a lot of people from liking and even playing it. It is unacceptable for this game to be $70 when it only offers single player. At least the Dark Ages should have launched with Horde mode, one of Doom Eternal's most requested features post-launch, one its software eventually put into the game. So it's surprising to see that Horde mode is not on the Dark Ages. When you replay the campaign on the same save file, you will notice how much the Dark Ages needs New Game Plus, as the first 7 to 12 levels feel pointless with a fully upgraded Doomslayer. That, or maybe I'm just Doom Guy himself. It is also unacceptable that the physical release of the Dark Ages doesn't even contain the game's data inside the disc, making it impossible to play, even install on your console without an internet connection, which breaks the entire point of Doom being playable everywhere and anywhere. I live in an area of my city where the internet is unstable as fuck, so for me personally this is a big issue. Blu-ray discs can contain up to 100 gigabytes of data, and Doom the Dark Ages is 67 gigabytes, so why in the heavens is the game not in the disc? This is not good. We shouldn't normalize this from happening, because games preservation is a very important part of our culture.
You brought those guys out there. This is your responsibility.
To the surprise of many, the Dark Ages is not Doom Eternal 2, and that's great. Yet, I do believe the Dark Ages gameplay should take a little more elements from its older brother. We should be able to switch weapons at any moment, or at least a little bit faster. Sometimes I cannot even defend myself because I have to wait for my weapon shooting animation to end, and for the next weapon to be ready to shoot. And that on high difficulties is just unfair. On the other hand, demons should be unrelenting and unforgivable. Sometimes I'm just given too much space to do whatever the hell I want, and the downtime between action is very noticeable. The slow-mo effect after parrying and punching is cool. I like it very much. It makes the fights very cinematic. Yet, it can sometimes be very jarring, as stopping the flow of combat every time you successfully use the shield just feels cheesy, to the point where I feel punished for playing the game as intended. Fortunately, Hugo Martin has confirmed that they are working on implementing the slow-mo effect as a slider you can modify or disable outright. Gracias, Hugo. Muy bien. Perfecto. On another note, please, for the love of Jesus Christ, with a shotgun, give us the option to disable leather boxes on cinematics. I much prefer the cinematic style of Doom Eternal and how it presented the story. It is such a small issue, I know, but I would rather see Doomguy's entire model, armor, and these amazing vistas without 40% of my screen being cut. I have no idea if this is just my own obsession, but when making videos, transitioning from a scene with leather boxes to another one without just makes my eyes bleed. Please get rid of leather boxes. All of these problems are just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. Yet, I'm going to save all the others for another video, so subscribe if you want to see that. In conclusion, Doom: The Dark Ages is a phenomenal game, one that aligns itself perfectly with its predecessors and expands the story, lore, and universe of Doom in an interesting way. It's not perfect, but it's not as bad as some people say. If you have been enjoying the Doom formula for the last 33 years, then Doom: The Dark Ages is definitely for you. So, I strongly recommend you play it. Having said that, please do tell me know how you feel about the game down in the comment section. Also, do not forget to use code MIDNIGHT on GamerSubs. Have a fantastic day, my friends, and stay safe. Adios. Bye.